What up, what up, what up? It's your boy Alex. Just decided to come outside and do a short video about changing. So, switching it up. What is it exactly? Switching it up. So, if you look at the word change, basically change means a switch of something, a potential transformation. And what I wanted to talk about today is that why is change so difficult, right? Like somebody might go to the doctor and the doctor might tell them like, hey, you're for the people that are not medical, A1C is indicative of your blood sugar, right? And so he might tell you, hey, your A1C is high, you need to change something. Either you need to take your medication more often, you need to go to the gym and exercise, or maybe you need to actually change your diet, which may be more difficult for some people. So behavior modification in general can be difficult, but change, why is it so difficult? And I have several different reasons why I think that change can be so challenging, why it's so difficult. So change in itself, right, is statically speaking, is not hard, right? Like if you look at the word change, right? Like let's even look up look at the dictionary at the word change and see what the word change even means, right? Let's look up to see what change means. According to the Webster's dictionary, or even I like to use Oxford's dictionary. So change in itself is a proposal to change the law. It also means make or become different. All right, so let's go with the make or become different definition. Another one says take or use another one instead of, and many other definitions. To make or become different. Oftentimes, well, so, all right, so in your brain, there are patterns that get developed. And even if you look at the neurocognitive function of the brain, you could have a circuit in the brain that continues to do like a wire loop kind of function, like a loop. It just goes round and round in a circle, almost like when you have a track on repeat. And so change is very difficult because your brain goes in a loop and you form habits. And so the change in itself in isolation is like, oh, changing your diet, it's not that bad, can't be that difficult. But in order to change your diet, you need to start something different, but you need to end something that was old. And so I think change is very challenging for people because it's not impossible. I think it's very challenging because you get used to the old stuff. You get used to the old stuff. You get used to doing what you're normally doing, and it's in your comfort zone. And so when things are in your comfort zone, you just don't want to get out of it. You want to continue doing what you used to do because it's comfortable, because it's familiar. And so people oftentimes don't want to do something that's unfamiliar. For example, if you ask somebody, they might, let's say some people might be more homebodies, right? Like they just like to hang out and chill out on the couch on like their day off from work, or maybe they just love staying at home. And you might, let's say, propose to them like, hey, let's go out to get a drink at the bar, or maybe let's go, for me personally, you know, I don't really drink, but I love shooting pool. They might be like, hey, let's go out to shoot some pool. And they're going to look at you like a little bit weird because now you're challenging them to do something differently that they're used to. Now, I don't believe that people should be forced to do what they don't want to do. But at the same time, I think change is good. And so this is why I even named the video Switch It Up. And so change is extremely important because I believe, regardless of your spiritual background, in order for you to get from where you are to where you need to be, I believe that change is extremely important. And so I was just talking to a good brother yesterday. Well, more than a good brother, right? He's my brother-in-law, but I consider him my brother. Dukins, shout out to Dookie, Lil Dizzy, Lil D, Lil Dizzy, Lil Dookizzy, or whatever. But like, that's my boy for real, for life. And we were just having some real talk yesterday and just talking about the fear of perception. And so later on in my other videos, I'll cover fear for sure. But the fear of perception and why fear can hold people back. More specifically, the fear of perception, because you're not being yourself. That's another video I'm going to do in the future. But staying on the topic of change, the reason why some people are so afraid to change is because they're afraid of maybe failing or afraid of what other people are going to think. Let's say, for me, for example, I know when I became a Christian, I stopped drinking, I stopped clubbing, certain things like that. And I was just vibing and just telling, or more specifically, polying with Dookie earlier. And just polying is basically a slang word for saying, like, you know, we were chopping it up, or more specifically, we were just talking, you know, for people that may not understand that slang, urban slang. So we were just speaking, we were discussing about essentially, I was talking about my change as a Christian and just how God specifically elevated me to become who I'm called to be. You know, when people talk about elevation, even my brother mentioned the word elevation yesterday. Very powerful word. I know for me, it's about elevating above my higher self. It's not about elevating above other people, right? And so another characteristic about that, or something interesting about change, is that a lot of people are afraid to change because they don't want to face the heat or some of the potential persecution or ridicule from other people, right? Like, let's say if you grew up on a block where nobody goes to college, right? So it might be a change for that community for somebody to go away to college. And because people don't understand what that is, they're going to ridicule you, right? So change is extremely important. I know I'll say specifically for me also, change can be challenging because you're afraid to fail. And so, well, yeah, afraid to fail. But I know specifically for me, like, let's say if I'm studying for this big exam right now, it's called Step 3, and it's for my residency, to get into residency. Now, if I were to just stick to what I know and to not switch it up and go for the information that I don't know, more specifically to amp up the amount of questions I do a day, I'm afraid to fail. It's like, oh, well, maybe I won't be able to go to these questions, instead of challenging myself and saying, no, you need to change, or more specifically, changing my environment. That's symbolic of a whole nother thing, right? Like, let's say I want to change my environment to refresh my mind to be able to do better on these questions, right? In the same way, somebody might want to change their environment and scenery of where they live. Maybe where they live is really toxic. It might be a toxic home environment, or maybe it might be, you know, a community that is not fostering their growth, location-wise, or maybe, you know, just really changing the scenery or changing your mindset. Why do people go on vacation? It's a change, right? But it's also a respite because it's a different type of scenery that can give you a different perspective. And so I know the biggest change for me this year has been slowing down, right? I was even giving the example yesterday. I was riding in the car with my brother, Dukins, just about being able to observe the scenery around you, right? That's change right there. See, if I go, like, I'll just go do a demonstration. See, like, let's say if I'm running, it's gonna be harder to see things. But if I'm walking slow, I can catch everything. Right now, I'm looking at the fences. Right here, I can catch the buildings and all that. So, depending upon how fast you go, you may not be able to observe different things that you need to work on, different areas that you need to grow in, and more specifically, the beautiful things around you. For me, the beautiful things are family, fun, and also friends. And so being caught up in the pressure cooker that is medical school, I just graduated from medical school past May, glory to God, I can't take any credit for that, because only God allowed me and empowered me to go through it, is that you're on a fast-paced schedule all the time. It's like a consistent rat race, so you don't have time to slow down and to enjoy the things that are around you, and more specifically to grow in areas that you need to grow in, apart from intellectual pursuit or even like enhancing your academic success. So I think that's why change is critical. It's hard, but change is what's going to revolutionize society. I think people get caught up in the same old, and doing the same thing that they always do.